Hi guys, and welcome back. And as you can see, this time we're at the back of the car. And the reason we're here is because I think I've figured out how I plan to configure the batteries in the back, in the boot area and under the boot area. If you've been watching my videos up until now, you'll know I have managed to squeeze 10 of the large modules under the bonnet of the car. And that was a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of sealing of modules to stop them getting wet, stop any damp getting into them. That's going to be a major job. And one thing that was bothering me was last year I built a battery box to put a load of modules in where the fuel tank used to be. And I have to admit, it's been bothering me that is going to be a lot of work to try and get that installed there. It's going to be very difficult to ensure that it is watertight. I was also concerned it might be close to the drive shaft, the prop shaft. Trying to get the cables in and out of it, seal it up, and all of the things that I would have to do is a lot of trouble. Major headache. So I'm starting to think maybe I can put up with this. Yes, I'm losing quite a lot of my boot space, and yes, I won't have a completely flat floor area if I fold down the seats. But that's a compromise that I think I'm willing to make. This is, after all, my first EV, so I can always improve on this. Basically what I've done is I've taken some measurements, and this is the maximum width that we can fit underneath the car, up in the area where the exhaust back box and there was a cubby hole which I've taken out already. So this is the maximum width that I can squeeze in there. Now unfortunately I don't have the full height the whole way across because there are some bars, if I can maybe show you. Yeah, that bar there, or that part of the suspension, is jutting out and is blocking us from getting the full height. You can see it better on the other one, and it means that it can't get the full height or the full width at that point. So what I've done is I've measured back from that. It's approximately 12 centimeters from the side on either end. What I'm going to do now is I think I'll build this bottom box first, get it so that I know exactly where it's going to go under the car. I want to make it wider so that I've got a bit of extra space to play with. So as you can see, guys, I've marked out the corners of the battery boxes to go under the back of the car. It's going to be 90 centimeters wide, long, by 40 wide, and 17 high. So these are 17 millimeter squares, 17 centimeter squares, and cut them out. And then we'll do the same again. We'll gouge a half mil or whatever. Just run the grinder along there to get the extra half mil out of it, so we can fold it nice and easy. Right guys, well, as you can see, I have already started the bending process just by carrying it in here. I was holding it here and the thing just flopped over when I was carrying it. I maybe went a little bit deep in a couple of places, but as you can see, even with a long length like this, it's still perfectly feasible to bend it into a box shape just by cutting a little bit into the edge. And you can see how it's bent. See what happens when we're trying to do this side. A little bit more action with the grinder. Some places are right through and some are not enough. Yeah, I think a little bit more grinding is required. Okay, so here goes take two. Yeah. There we go. Not too terrible. Right, so that's it tacked together, just with a few 3 welds at each corner, which is enough for me to now go and check and see if it fits. But that's a very nice square, fairly square box. I wonder how square it is. So we'll go from corner to corner, measuring just was a 982 from that corner to that corner, and 982 from that corner. That's how to make square box, boys. And if you're wondering how I managed to get the line straight, I just took an old piece of timber, held it up to the line where I wanted it, and then ran the grinder along the piece of timber just to keep it on a straight line. Okay guys, so I've just struggled to try and get this under the back of the car, and unfortunately, because of the bits that need to be cut away, I just couldn't get it in. So there's no point in messing about. I might as well get on with cutting the bits out that need to be cut out. Okay, well that's the corner marked out. And as you can see, I'll go ahead and cut that out. And I should be able to just flip this over and weld it back into position, and that should give me a good fit. We'll give it a try and see how we get on. Right guys, if I take the bit that was on here, flip it upside down and put it back on again, sorry, that way around, and put it back in again, get that welded into here, and then take this bit out, and that is our corner cut out. Right, like I said, far from perfect. It'll do. Well, the great news guys is it fits like a glove. There was a few things were in my way. I may have to trim away a little bit of the under part of the rear bumper, but just literally a few centimeters, and it'll never ever be seen. This is going to go in and fit really nicely. I just have to sort out some kind of brackets to support it. I'm hoping to be able to use the tow bar bolt holes to support the whole thing. There's holes already there that I can tie into, so the whole thing looks to me like it should work okay. I'm going to have to try and fabricate some kind of a lid for it now, of course, but the lid doesn't actually need to go the full size of the space available here, because there's going to have to be a hole in the top of it to get access to cables and to get the batteries in and so on. So, welcome back to a video this time about securing the batteries in the battery box. Hopefully, if I have managed to get my video sequencing correct, which frequently doesn't happen, hopefully last time you'll have seen this box being made, this battery box. One of the issues that has been concerning me for a while is it's all very well making these lovely steel battery boxes and making them nice and neat and strong and everything, but the problem I've been thinking about is how do I secure the battery modules in the battery box. Now, as you can see, I plan to have the battery modules on their sides, something like that, but how do you secure those to the steel battery box? What I did in the battery box that's under the bonnet, I'll go over here and show you, is I drilled holes at the top there, and the batteries sit inside, and bits of threaded rod just go straight through, and that secures everything. But the thing about it is, this is a slightly more sheltered place in the car from weather and so on. Slightly easier to keep an eye on it, make sure there's no water getting in and so on, and making sure that that's all sealed up. The problem I have is that this box is going to be under the car, at the back of the car. There's got to be lots of water splashing up around it every time I go through a puddle, and I cannot afford water to be getting into this box. You know, I'm not suggesting I'm going to be able to go wading through 2 feet high lakes or whatever, but I do need to make sure that it's reasonably water resistant. And drilling holes in the side of it probably would have to be down near the bottom. Basically, I can't really get at this from the outside once it's in position because of where it's going. So I will need to figure out some way of securing them from inside the box. So this is the cunning plan what I have come up with. Thread a bar holding it like before, like the other one. And as you can see, with threaded bar we can have these nuts in between, and the whole thing can be really secure. This is M8 threaded bar, and 4 of these would be more than enough to hold this. But how to hold it down? And this is what I've come up with. Some time ago I bought these. So that screws on like that. So what I plan to do is put one of these in here, another one in here, weld a piece of steel to it like this, and this is the steel I'm using. It's 3mm I think, box section which has been cut down. This is an old offcut. Put that in there like that, and then take this one of the this is just 2 bolts welded together, or nuts welded together, weld them down to the appropriate place in the box, obviously over here somewhere. So that will be welded something like that. I'll just put it over here just so it's easier to see what I'm doing. And then this goes over like that. Hole here, M8 bolt going through. Obviously that I've welded these together to give it more height, so we've got more to screw into. Bob's your uncle. So that is the current cunning plan. Now just to get on with it, I've got 1 made, 7 to go. So the way I'm doing it is I'm just grinding away the end where the lip is. Put that on there or something like that. Put that up against that, and then just go ahead and weld the two together. Now I do need to chase the threads afterwards using one of these, because the threads tend to be a bit trashed when you weld to them, but it's not too hard to do. There you go. Not the prettiest welding you'll ever see. There's lumps on the inside. Yeah, I'll need to run the tap through it because the weld has sort of encroached in. So go ahead and get that tapped, cut and drilled. I haven't actually drilled this yet, obviously that was the next step, but I didn't want to drill it until I had figured out where everything is going. There we go. I was being a little bit cautious with the top there because the lumps of steel were quite big and I didn't really want to snap the tap, break it off inside. I just grind down the ugliest bits of the welds and drill it, cut it off, job's good. As any of you have seen my previous videos will know, and will probably come to expect, yeah, that didn't go entirely to plan. This is the remains of one of my taps. Yeah. So apparently trying to drive them through with the drill wasn't such a good idea after all. So that got cut off and dumped. This is one that I blew through with the welder right through into the threaded part, so rather than trying to save that, I just cut it off and started again. So we'll have 8 of our little brackets now. All we need to do is drill the holes and make another 7 of these, I guess. Right guys, so this is the plan. We take our threaded rod, feed it through there, and pick up the first nut. Start screwing that in. And then once we get to a certain point, we then pick up the first of our, I'll just take it out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about. Pick up the first of our brackets, screw that in, and keep screwing that till it goes all the way through. And then, to speed things up a bit, I've deliberately cut this a bit long so it doesn't matter if I damage the threads on the end. So now, to see if we can get it into the box. So that's pretty much how it's going to be, guys. You can see the support brackets down there. I was originally just going to weld these nuts to the floor, but I think what I will do now is, I'm just looking, I'm a little concerned it may not be strong enough. There's a lot of weight in these things, and any jolts or bangs or whatever could likely just pop that off, or more likely also bend the floor. So what I think I will do is, I might go ahead and put these in position there, but I'll also drill a hole down through and have some sort of a strengthening bar underneath and more nuts underneath as well. So a bit more work, but not the end of the world. Still going to stick with the same principle apart from that. So this is the shape that I've made the battery box to allow it to go in. And I put this flange along the top. To basically give a way of sealing the battery box to the bottom of the car. And what I mean by that is, I plan to have the whole inside edges all sealed up with silicone sealant or whatever seam sealer. I then plan to put a very thick bead of silicone sealant right around the top of the battery box, and then just raise the battery box into position and squish the bead of silicone against the bottom of the car, and thereby sealing the battery box. This is the cunning plan. What I've done since you probably last saw this is I have welded some angle iron onto the bottom of it, which was for 2 purposes. One, to give it a bit more strength, because it was sort of, as I was moving it with batteries in it, it was flopping all over the place. But also to give me something to screw into. I was concerned that with this being only 1.5mm steel, that would not be strong enough to hold the batteries if there was an accident. Basically, probably it would have been fine. Maybe this is overkill, but to me it's better safe than sorry. Anyway, that's that. The next step is to take the batteries, which as you can see I've already got the links made on this pack. So just the only last one I need to do is connect this down to here, and that's the positive for the pack. This one's already connected down to here, and that's the negative for this particular pack. I had to get creative with this. For these batteries to go together, I need to lift this up and slide it along, and it's kind of hook this under through here. To get the link going between here and here wasn't easy, using the thick heavy wire that I've got and the connectors I've got. So that's the links made for most of this pack, just that last one to do. And then put this into the box, put this side in the box, get it bolted in, put this side into the box, hook that through there like I said before, make another link going from there to there, or not make it but actually connect it up, and I'll be doing that using this. So that will make this pack the live and in situ. Now this is only a dry run, obviously all this needs to be painted, sealed, seam sealed, all of that, but I want to do a dry run, get these in the back of the car, get them bolted in, and then we can be happy that we can move on to the next stage. I also made up a bracket to hold the lower battery box in the car, and as you can see it's all fairly heavy duty. Basically these two bolt holes here go into the tow bar support. There's two very long bolts that hold the middle part of the tow bar, and then these two holes here go into bolt holes that were originally the fuel tank support. So those holes were already there, and all I need to do is bolt into them, and then so that'll be something like that. That's just a bit like that, and then bolts go through that hole and into there, and the same on the other side. Okay guys, so without too much difficulty I managed to get these three modules in, and you see what I mean by the way that that's been supported. Basically this sits underneath, and then the bolt goes down through, and then that holds the whole thing in. So I'm sure there's a better way of doing it, but for now that's what I've got. Any suggestions as to how I should be doing it, I'm more than willing to change things, but for now I think this should be strong enough. I wondered about that. I need to unbolt this first three, shove them back that way to give me room to get this one in. The problem I have, guys, is that because this is all so tight and awkward to get at, the leads have to be screwed into the battery modules before I fit the modules into the battery box, there just would not be space and room for me to put them in and get them properly tightened if I was doing it after getting the modules in the box. And of course that makes it all a bit more complicated. Alright guys, well after a bit of a struggle and a bit of a fight and a lot of fiddle farting about, we got it in. We got them in. And as you can see, this will be the negative coming off this battery, and then this will be the positive coming off this battery. These will both, cables will both come up and into the back battery box. I've already made a couple of holes for that, and there will be a third cable coming up through there, which will be for the BMS connections, but for purposes of this test, we're not going to worry about BMS connections. But just so you see the path the Angry Pixies will be taking, this is our negative connection going to here. It goes through this battery and into a loop over into this one, through there, a loop from there to there, and then up to here, straight across from there to there, over to here, loop down to the bottom of this one and across, looping across to here and over to here, and then come out and the pause there. So right guys, sorry about that. The battery died. But as you can see, all the bolts are in and all the bolts are tightened up. So I'll take you through what bolts we have here. We have one here, which another one just over there, and a bolt over here which is part of this framework, and another one over there, and then the main securing bolt. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try and get it into focus. So this is the bolt going up into the original fuel tank support, and the bracketry that I've made for it, and it goes to here. So we are now in. Good enough that I can take out this and then lower this. That's a wee bit tight. There we go. And that is it in position, being supported by these bolts, like I said. So now we can open the back door and show you the situation. Here we go. Here we have two cables coming up, and these will be coming up through holes in the floor of the bigger battery box, which is going to be filling this back part of the car. Whew. That was a big job. I'm very glad that that's done now. So we'll go ahead and get the next part done, which is putting in the second battery box, which is there, and putting it into there. Bye for now.